Hey everyone, in this video we'll take a look at a new feature recently added to KubeArmor, the USB device handler. The USB device handler extends KubeArmor's runtime security capabilities to the hardware level and enables enforcement and auditing of USB device at the host level. We'll start with a quick overview, discuss the use case, and then jump into a live demo showing how KubeArmor does that in real time. Let's see how KubeArmor monitors kernel events to authorize or deauthorize USB hardware. Let's understand how it works. So the USB device handler works by listening to kernel events via a netlink socket whenever a USB device is attached or removed. Right now I have a Ubuntu server VM, and let's see how those events look like. We can use the UDEV ADM monitor for that with a dash kernel flag. So now it will print all the kernel events that are sent by the kernel whenever we attach a USB device. So we can see those device events. Now USB device handler also listens for these kernel events, and it then matches the attached device against all the currently applied KubeArmor host policies and the most specifically defined policy events, and based on its action, which can be either allow, audit, or block, the handler will either authorize or deauthorize it via the sysfs based USB authorization. Now let's set up our environment and review the configuration file needed to enable USB device handler. Let's now set up our environment. We'll start KubeArmor, and we'll also enable the USB device handler and see how it works. Right now I have this Ubuntu server VM, and we'll run KubeArmor in the systemd mode, that is non-Kubernetes mode, and we'll use a configuration file to configure KubeArmor. So let's see what I have in that configuration file. This is the important flag, that is enable USB device handler. We need to set this to true, and this also requires the KubeArmor host policy to be enabled as well. So we need both of them together. And there is one more thing, that is the host default device posture, which we'll see in a while. So it basically is the action that KubeArmor will take when it is running in allow list or whitelist mode. So basically when there is any allow based policy defined. So it can be either audit or block. So and default action is audit. Let's use this configuration file to run KubeArmor. Let's start the demo and plug in a USB device to see KubeArmor's default behavior without any policies. Yeah, let's start KubeArmor using this configuration. So in the logs, we can see that USB device handler is initialized and it has started to monitor USB device events. We can also see that there are currently no policies applied. So whenever any USB device is attached, so we must see logs or alerts based on what action it is taken against that device. So we will use the KubeArmor client KArmor for that. We'll use the flag dash dash operation equals device. That means we only are concerned about the USB device alerts, and let's set the log filter to all so that we see the logs as well as alerts, and set the gRPC flag. So I attached a mass storage device, and as expected, since no host policies applied, we can see some host logs. Let's attach another one. Now we will apply a host policy to block a USB device and see the instant security alert. Here I have this KubeArmor host policy, and here the action is block. Let's apply this policy. We can see that this policy is applied, and let's attach this USB mass storage device. And now after the device is attached, we can see that we get an alert here that says that a USB mass storage device was blocked. What if we want to block all USBs but allow one? Let's see how KubeArmor policy specificity works. Let's see about how specifically defining policies changes the priority. Now we have a policy here that says block all USB mass storage devices, and if we define one more field in this policy, let's say we want to block all USB devices that have class mass storage, and let's say subclass 6, and now let's apply this policy. So this policy is applied, but now if we create another policy that is even more granularly defined, let's add more fields to it, and let's set the action to allow. Let's add this policy as well. So we have added 2 policies. So let's see what happens now when we attach the USB mass storage device again. Now that we attach it, we don't see any more alerts because it was allowed. Finally, let's create a specific allow policy and see how KubeArmor's default posture handles all other devices. Now let's also see the default posture. So first let's just remove these policies. So let's apply allow based policy. So this policy says to allow all mass storage devices, and since we also have a allow policy here, and the default posture that we set was to audit. So now I'll see, since earlier we were getting host logs, but now these should change to the default posture alerts. Let's just apply this policy. Yeah, this policy is applied. Now if we attach this device, we don't see any log or alert for allow events. But now if we attached any other device, we can see that it matches the default posture, and we get the default posture alerts. So this is the action that we defined in the host default device posture. Now, if it is set to block, the devices will be blocked according to the default posture. Thanks for watching.